الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, tonight is May 19th, 2020. It is also the 27th night of the month of Ramadan. In particular countries and in some cultures in the world, and according to some of the Jamhur riwayat, the more famous opinions related to the Laylatul Qadr, many have almost taken this to be the Laylatul Qadr, the 27th night of the month of Ramadan. It is given a very, very special place out of the 5 odd nights of the last 10 nights. This is like narrowing something down all the way down to the, we say, microscopic level, where they go from the 5 nights trying to narrow it down to 1 night based on some of the famous opinions of some of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and other famous aqwal and sayings and narrations and traditions. It should be clear that there's no one night that has been fixed in the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but this was a kind of experience from the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and the Tabi'een and Tabi Tabi'een. In their experiences, they kind of narrated that this was the most probable Laylatul Qadr. With that being said, a few things that we should remember in our lives is that whenever we are given a chance to get qurb ila Allah, to get closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best way of attaining that qurb ila Allah, the best way of attaining that closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through following and implementing the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in our life. Out of the many things that we may be able to say about our situation and condition this year related to this worldwide pandemic of COVID-19 or coronavirus, we have the good, we have the bad. That is the amazing thing about the conditions when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sends conditions. Amongst some of the good, positive elements that we can find from this unique situation, that's the appropriate term, the unique situation we are in this lockdown and social distancing. And one thing that it taught us or showed us is the spirit of the month of Ramadan from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and from the sunnah of the lives of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. Otherwise, many of us, we may never have, or all of us, we may have never had a chance to truly experience the main spirit of the month of Ramadan. Sometimes we have heard in our lives in the previous years how we can have the spirit of the month of Ramadan. In light of the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when you read the ahadith about the month of Ramadan, what is amazing about those ahadith, particularly about the actions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in this blessed month, many of those ahadith have been reported by the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and in particular Ummul Mu'mineen Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu anha. That was the actions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam during the month of Sha'ban, what kind of preparations he used to make, and how was his actions during the month of Ramadan. We have heard in many traditions that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to tighten his belt, which was an amazing way of saying that he used to become more serious in his ibadah. And this ibadah was not congregational ibadah where he used to do ibadah with the whole congregation. The congregational ibadah was there, the 5 times daily salah in the Masjid, and having particular halaqat with the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. But majority of this ibadah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he performed majority of that ibadah individually by himself, between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And majority of that ibadah he used to do at home. And the reason I'm mentioning this is that we may be able to understand that with this unique situation, we were given a chance also to experience that. Except for the time when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would go into i'tikaf. Before the i'tikaf, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum did not really get a chance to see or experience that individual secret ibadah that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to perform or used to do. The i'tikaf, one of the main reasons behind the i'tikaf is to find the Laylatul Qadr. And we find in the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that Al-Mu'mineen Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu anha, she has told us, not in one tradition, multiple traditions, that in the month of Ramadan, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he would tighten his belt, meaning he would become serious with the ibadah. And he would make his family also to become serious with the ibadah. But in the last 10 nights, he used to become even more serious. He used to become even more serious in the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. And that was the time that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would go into i'tikaf. And even in i'tikaf, because his house was attached to the masjid, he used to try and he would give message to his family to also perform ibadah. The Taraweeh, the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, from the ahadith we know that it was done in congregation only a few times, maybe 3 times, or some of the narrations mentioned that. Later on, during the Khilafah of Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu anhu, it was made part of the Isha Salah and done in congregation. But there's a very great wisdom behind that, is that for us, it should be that if we are not able to really have a khatam of the Quran or read the Quran, have a chance to read the whole Quran, then we should try to have the Taraweeh, connect to the Taraweeh, pray with the congregation and take benefit from the khatam of the Quran. Even if we may not do the full Taraweeh We may take the 8 rak'ah or 20. Remember one thing, the Taraweeh is a sunnah. Even if we do 2 rak'ah, it is fine. We don't need to get into this debate of the number of rak'ah. In general, it was established as 20 rak'ah in the Haram of Makkah, the Kaaba Baytullah. It was established as 20 rak'ah in Masjid al-Nabawi and Masjid al-Aqsa. Amir al-Mu'mineen Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he established this. But with that being said, even if we pray 2 rak'ah, even then we should have had this habit of staying and trying to listen to as much of the tilawat of the Quran as we could. Even if we may have not have joined the salah or been part of the Taraweeh. Because the khatam of the Quran is separate from the Taraweeh itself. Yes, we have, alhamdulillah, joined them. And this has become the established, acceptable amal by the ummah. The sunnah of the Khulafa al-Rashideen. But this month of Ramadan, we were not able to have that congregation. And this was supposed to be a unique time for us to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these special nights of the month of Ramadan. We should have made utmost effort. If we have not been doing, that's fine, but we should try even these last few nights. At least now we should try and tighten our belt and become serious that whatever amount of Taraweeh we are able to do, and whatever amount of a'mal, righteous deeds we're able to do, we should take full advantage of this time and try your best to develop a personal link and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is one of the greatest lessons that we learn from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when we talk about the spirit of the month of Ramadan. The spirit of the month of Ramadan at the time of Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they did not have iftar party or iftar food or these kind of things. I know this is an emotional topic and everyone will, it's a bit controversial also that I'm saying this, everyone, because we have been going through the month of Ramadan in our minds that for us the spirit of the month of Ramadan was, for lack of a better way of explaining, a kind of celebration of the food that we used to do in iftar. And especially in the last 10 nights, mashallah, even if the rest of Ramadan we did not have iftar, last 10 nights you must have the iftar party with the food and everything. What is clear is that this was not from the time of Sahaba radiallahu anhum. They did not have this kind of practice. And even they used to pray their salah, go home and have a meal. Or they would bring something and share it with the poor, those Sahaba in the community that were not as fortunate. They just used to share their meal with them. It was not kind of like an open invitation to everyone. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. You can find in the books of fiqh. It's perfectly fine to do that, also to have an invitation for everyone. There's a lot of reward in giving a fasting person a date to eat and water to drink. And we know about all of those fada'il. I'm not denying that. I'm just sharing with you that unfortunately we have been kind of showing ourselves and training ourselves to believe that the spirit of the month of Ramadan was the whole community effort and the iftar and the food. These are good, but that is not necessarily the spirit of the month of Ramadan. The main spirit of the month of Ramadan is that personal connection a person is able to develop and build with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what this particular Ramadan and this pandemic has shown to all of us. That the question is, maybe in our lifetime we may have been serious with the Taraweeh, we may have been serious with other good deeds. And now that we are at home, are we still as serious? Are we as careful with the same ibadah or not? That's the test. Because it's easy to perform ibadah, it's easy to have the khatam of Quran, it's easy to have the Taraweeh, even all 20 rak'ah. When you have a group with you, when you have everyone standing there, it becomes very easy to perform the 20 rak'ah. But if you have noticed this year, it may have been quite difficult to perform the 20 rak'ah. And maybe we were not as punctual with it. whether it is 20 or 8 rakah or whatever number you take, we may have not been as punctual with that number of rakah now that we are alone at home. Whatever we were punctual with the community, we may have not been that punctual. And that's something that we need to reevaluate within ourselves. That have we really been missing out on the true spirit of the month of Ramadan? Are we performing these a'mal because there are others with us that are giving us support, when we should have been trying to do these a'mal at a time when we were all alone between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That is the taraweeh, the tahajjud, whatever other a'mal, righteous deeds we can do. The tilawat of Quran and the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the dua. Because when a person is with a group, sometimes it becomes very easy. When you're alone, it has a different feeling. If you are serious with it, you can really feel that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if it becomes difficult for us and we're not able to keep up, at least in these last few nights, we should try and become serious with it. And try to at least fulfill that number that we were used to when the masajid were open. Whatever that number was. If it's 6 rakah, 4 rakah, 8 rakah, 12 rakah, 20 rakah. If you're from the Maliki madhab, mashallah, 36 rakah. And that is a unique experience also. The 36 rakah from the traditions of the Sahaba also. So the whole point is that the month of Ramadan, it is a very unique time for us to truly experience the real spirit of this blessed month. Maybe this was one of the reasons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed us to face this pandemic in the month of Ramadan. Otherwise, this pandemic could have come any other time. If you think about it logically, in China, and they say it started in December, and they pretty much opened up the whole country by May. So these 6 months, so if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted, He could have made this pandemic go worldwide at the end of last Ramadan, and by January or December we would have opened up all of the countries and had the masajid open, and we could have benefited from this month of Ramadan in the masajid. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever He decides and decrees anything, His decree is done with complete knowledge and perfect wisdom. And the job of a believer is that we should look, utlub al-khayra fima waqa'a. We are supposed to seek the khayr and the good in whatever happens. And this has really shown us that the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in this blessed month of Ramadan was connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a very personal level. And this is the time that a person is really able to have very deep sincerity. When a person gets one-to-one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the ibadah comes from the heart, and even the dua, it comes from the heart. That usually happens when a person's life is in danger. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us examples in the Quran of a time when someone's life is in danger, especially if they have boarded a ship and that ship is in the middle of the ocean and a storm comes. Then at that time when a person's life is in so much danger and they have no hope of survival no matter what they do, they run out of all options, at that time they become very sincere in their dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives that scenario in a few places in the Quran. دَعَوُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. They make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being very sincere in their deen. And maybe this was a chance for us also to maybe have some experience of that sincerity, that kind of silent. We have been so used to having ibadah in a crowd that we haven't truly experienced doing ibadah in that silence. For those who are blessed with the tawfiq to do tahajjud, they know what I'm trying to explain here. There are some things that are difficult to put in words, but there is a very special feeling when you're in that unique silence between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at that time, a person, they have that attention and that khushu', that devotion, that sincerity, then the dua really puts a person in tears at that time. So this is a very, very unique time. Tonight being the 27th night of the month of Ramadan, the fourth in the sequence of the nights of Laylatul Qadr, 21st, 23rd, 25, 27. Still have also 29. We should also try and reevaluate ourselves. There's a famous saying, حَاسِبُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ قَبْلَ أَن تُحَاسَبُوا. Take account of yourself before you're put to account by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should all take a step back and reevaluate what the month of Ramadan truly means to us. With that said, we should also evaluate what the Eid means to us. Because this year, the way it seems, there may be a good chance that we will not be able to have a gathering for Eid Salah. And I want to make it clear that Eid Salah and the Eid Khutbah, all of this is Sunnah. And according to some narration, it is wajib. But the Eid Salah and the Khutbah itself, all of this is Sunnah. And preservation of life being fard, that we'll not be able to have these gatherings. Alhamdulillah, from the Masjid Jafar side, we are making arrangements on how to manage that as a community. We'll give you the details soon. But it's a time to reevaluate that what the Eid means to us. And more than that, one of the most important parts, aside from the Laylatul Qadr, one of the most important parts of the month of Ramadan and the Eid, the month of Ramadan on one side and the Eid on the other side, the most important time is Laylatul Ja'iza, the night before Eid. That night before Eid is the time when the month of Ramadan has come to an end. The next morning will be the Eid. And that night is the time that we are able to receive all the rewards and all of the awards of our good deeds for the month of Ramadan, from the month of Ramadan. And that is a real test. Because that is the time that a person feels, okay, the month of Ramadan is finished. At least psychologically, the person gets into this mindset, okay, the ibadah is finished, because that night we do not have Taraweeh. We go back to our regular Isha Salah. And a person gets this feeling that, okay, the month of Ramadan is gone, I'm finished. But in reality, you're not really finished until after Eid Salah, or the time of the Eid. That is the night where the rewards and the awards are paid. And again, we'll go over these details in the coming nights, how we should spend that night. Our example should not be like the person who gets inheritance of millions and then he goes to the casino and, at night he goes to the casino and by the morning all those millions are gone. That should not be our example, that throughout the month of Ramadan, even the small righteous deeds we did, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewarded us so much. It was almost as if we inherited those rewards. That's the best way to kind of explain how much rewards come from the month of Ramadan. That our actions are no way qualified to get that much reward. But in the month of Ramadan, once we have inherited all of that good deeds, what do we do with it on the main night, Laylatul Ja'iza? Do we go and commit all of these sins? And our example becomes like the person who burns away all that wealth in a casino and through gambling and whatever. Or is our example like the person who puts all that wealth into proper investment and grows that wealth? Our example should be like the mu'min who takes all of those good deeds and uses all that training from the month of Ramadan to establish and develop taqwa, and then continue doing righteous deeds throughout the rest of the year. And that will build on to the a'mal and the rewards, the jazaa that the person had received in the month of Ramadan. Inshallah, we'll speak more about this in the coming nights. I just wanted to share with you that tonight is the 27th night of the month of Ramadan, and many people consider this to be the Laylatul Qadr, if they have not considered the other nights as close to the number of Laylatul Qadr. So we have to be more particular with our a'mal in light of the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ. We still have a chance, 2 more nights that are the most probable Laylatul Qadr. And we still have 3 or 4 nights left in the month of Ramadan also. And in regular days, even giving $1 or 1 penny in sadaqah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies it 700 times. That's under normal circumstances. And if that sadaqah becomes a continuous sadaqah, known as sadaqah jariyah, that kind of sadaqah that people benefit from it continuously, for example, building a masjid or supporting a masjid, so then that reward is obviously multiplied much more, because anyone that will do ibadah in that masjid, the reward will also go to those that built the masjid or supported the masjid. This should be understood. Facilitating righteous avenues for people to perform righteous deeds, the person who facilitates that themselves get the reward of everyone performing the good deeds there. Remember this. This is called sadaqah jariyah. Even if the person passes away and leaves this world, that reward will still continue for that person even after they have left this world. This is why one of the greatest prophets and Rusul messengers known in the Quran is Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, because he was given this great honor of building the Kaaba, Baytullah. So anyone doing good deeds there, the reward is going back to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. The same is the case with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum when they built Masjid al-Nabawi in Medina. So anyone that is doing good deeds there, the reward is still going to the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum and still going to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because they built that masjid even after all of these thousands of years. More than the 1400 years that have passed from the time of Sahaba and the thousands of years that have passed from the time of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. So this is a very great lesson for us. So that is if you do a sadaqah in normal days. In the month of Ramadan, the minimum multiplied is 70 times. You know from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that in the month of Ramadan, any nafil or sunnah amal that is performed, it is rewarded as if the person did a fard amal, as if they did fard. They performed a fard. That's also one of the points about the 20 rakah tarawih. In normal days, we have 20 rakah fard and witr. Okay? In normal days, the fard, if you count the 5 times daily salah, your fard salah, you have 20 rakah and then you have the witr. You have 17 rakah and then witr, which makes 20. You have 2 rakah fajr fard. You have 4 rakah fard for dhuhr. You have 4 rakah fard for asr. Right there you have 10. You have 3 rakah fard for maghrib, 13. You have 4 rakah fard for isha, 17. And then you have the witr. That's total 20. In the month of Ramadan, when you do the 20 rakah, so you're getting the reward as if, yes, it is a sunnah to perform the tarawih, but you're getting the reward as if you are praying that amount every single day with the reward of fard. If you perform a fard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies it 70 times, and that's like a minimum number in the month of Ramadan. Now you take sadaqah, which in normal days is multiplied sumbulatin miyatu habba, min kulli sumbulatin miyatu habba. That's like one corn with 100 in there, and then there's 7 corns like that, basically giving the reward of 700 under normal conditions mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah. مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة. One grain giving out 7 shoots of corn, each one having 100 in there, basically 700. That's under normal conditions. multiplied, and that's if you give one, I don't know what the unit of wealth we may consider as something acceptable, $1. What about in the month of Ramadan, where sadaqah in normal is considered a nafil amal? So in the month of Ramadan, if sadaqah being a normal nafil amal or a sunnah at the most under normal days and normal conditions, and it has that much reward, what about in the month of Ramadan when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the reward as if it is fard, as if you performed a fard, and then you take that number multiplied by 70. Allahu Akbar. I don't even know how we're gonna, don't even try to do the math, because in that ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, this is one of the places, maybe even the only place in the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, after He mentions this great reward of giving sadaqah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ يُضَاعِفُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies even more for whomsoever He wants. That's the amazing aspect of giving sadaqah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has told us, as-sadaqatu taruddul bala. Sadaqah, it removes hardships. And one of the ways that we're told to protect ourselves from the adhab and the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the ghadab and wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is by giving sadaqah. I mean, there's so many rewards once you start going into it. And I'm only talking about under normal days. All the ahadith that we can talk about, the rewards of sadaqah, is in the rest of the year under normal conditions. Try to bring it to the month of Ramadan, and there's no point in even trying to, run the numbers. As I mentioned, it's almost as if we inherited the rewards in the month of Ramadan. There's so much reward that, there's no equivalence in our efforts and actions and in the amount of reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. And if we do take the Jamhur riwayah, if we do take the famous opinion of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and the famous opinion of the Tabi'een and Tabi Tabi'een that tonight is Laylatul Qadr, then really you're at a whole nother math. I mean, 83 years and 4 months, better than that. Khayrun min alfi shahr, better than 1,000 months. And that's if we're talking about $1. But what about if we give more than that? It has come to my attention that Masjid Jafar has a shortage of 20,000. At least that was now, I don't know. Maybe that might be covered before I even finish talking. Someone might come in and take it. So I just want to point out that you still have a chance, if it hasn't already been taken, you still have a chance to become part of that reward. And here's another twist that I want to point, which makes now even more unique, as if I haven't explained the uniqueness of it yet. We're in a pandemic. And a pandemic doesn't come every year or 10 years. Or may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from ever seeing this kind of pandemic again in our life. But the reward in the pandemic, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions the reward of a shaheed for all those that have patience in the pandemic. And all those that have hope for reward in the pandemic. So each and every one of us, if we are patient, and we have a hope for reward, we're already getting the reward of a shaheed. And that's under normal circumstances. And now we're in the month of Ramadan, Allahu Akbar. How much the reward is going. And then you want to talk about giving sadaqah. So the message came that there was a $20,000 deficit to Masjid Jafar. If it's still open, you still have a chance. And even if the 20,000 gets filled, mashallah, still try and give. Because if we miss out on all of this, then really that's very unfortunate. So this is your chance, if it hasn't already been taken by someone, but this is your chance to take such reward that I doubt these many chances of reward will ever be given to us in our life again, considering the pandemic we're in. Okay, I highly doubt that we will be able to get this much reward that I try. And again, whatever I'm mentioning is not even the full picture. This is not even close to the full picture of the kind of rewards that we may be able to achieve tonight. And there's very little that I can say to even really tell you the truth. I just hope that on the Day of Judgment you don't hold me that, you didn't tell us that the full picture or the full reward of, this kind of sadaqah, we would have done even more. So this is a unique opportunity for us, that the greatest right on us is our local masjid. And the kind of opportunity that's still presenting itself, if it hasn't already been taken, it's still presenting itself. So if you want to really, really take the maximum benefit you may ever have in your life, considering the pandemic we're in, this is that chance. I mean, there is also the ayat in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can go into so many ayat. I know we have to go into our tilawah, but just one more point, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He praises the believers in the Quran, one of the unique qualities that He praises in the Quran about the people who will be given Jannah and who are muhsineen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ. And the believers are those who spend for His sake in times when they have good conditions and in times when they have difficulty. That's on top of, what they call the when you want to put the cream on the cake or the top, whatever on the cake, this is, the topping to really top it off. We're in a situation where we're all facing the same difficulty. We're all in the same boat. And no one can deny the difficulty everyone is going through. So that is on top of all of those rewards. What kind of reward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give. And this time, if we participate, and the window is, I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's amazing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is He takes care of His houses. He doesn't wait for us, okay? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an opportunity. If we avail of that opportunity, alhamdulillah, we get benefit. Otherwise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't need us. Ask anyone who has been involved in masjid management. They'll tell you the miracles that happen when it comes to running a masjid, especially financially. Allahu Akbar. Brother Naeem has a whole diary full of experiences for that. If anyone wants to call him at night, then make sure you have a cup of coffee because it could take a while, okay? The kind of miracles that happen around a masjid and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of His houses, that in itself should be a sign for us that this is just a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is giving us a chance. Not that we should think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs us. No. Don't debate this that, oh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs me. No. This is just a mercy from His side, giving us this opportunity. But if we don't avail of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will send. We have seen experiences where in the most tightest of situations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent money from places that we couldn't even imagine. We have never met those people. We have never seen those people. Sometimes the money comes from a state that we don't even know where this person is. How that person even heard of our masjid, Allahu Akbar. And not one experience. I can share with you many like that, okay? This is our masjid that has the greatest right on us. And I don't want to be, there was a, share with you on a lighter note. There was a villager. He got tired of he was a farmer, okay? A farmer, he got tired of there was one goat that was giving him a hard time. He got really tired of it. So he wanted to sell this goat, So he took the goat to the auction. And in the auction, the auctioneer, they stand up and they start talking about the benefit of the thing they're auctioning. So people will get encouraged to buy it. So the auctioneer, he started talking about the benefits of the goat. A goat gives the milk like this, and it has the horn, the goat is like this, and it has this benefit, and, it takes care of eating the grass, and it's so many benefits the person started. And while the auctioneer was talking about the benefits of the goat, the farmer, he looked at his goat. He said, wow, I didn't know that the goat had these many benefits, you know. They told the auctioneer, he said, okay, I'm not selling this goat. I didn't know it had these many benefits, you know. So sometimes what happens is when we start hearing the rewards of taking care of the masjid, the very people who are requesting for the funds might say, you know what, forget someone else, I'm going to take care of it, you know. So before that happens, take benefit of this chance that you are given before we miss this chance and we miss out on this great reward. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us understanding. Inshallah, we'll do our tilawah. I know I went a few minutes over, but it's important to share some of these things with all of us as a reminder for all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts and give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.